What is going on, everyone? Steve-O Supremo here, and I am just another game collector. And in today's video, we are talking about the wonderful PSP. But before we get into that, just a big thank you to all of you guys. 100 subscribers this past weekend. We went past it even. Just thank you so much for staying and tuning into the channel and subscribing to it. It's been awesome seeing this thing grow, so just thank you so much for that. The last video, tons of comments on the game room and how I could improve it and ideas. I haven't even had a chance to go through and respond to all of them, so just thank you so much for that, guys. You are awesome. Hopefully one day I could do something in the future to kind of thank you guys. You know, we did a lot of giveaways and stuff back in the day in old YouTube. I'd like to do that again, so we'll see how that can manifest and work itself out. But today's video, we're doing like the PSP collector's guide. If it's something you should be getting into, if you want to collect for, things you should know about it, if you haven't even gotten into the system, kind of like what we did for the PS4 and the PS5 already. I kind of wanted to go through and do this with every system this year, so figured why not do the PSP next, because the Y2K collector was talking about the PSP recently in one of his videos. It's like, you know what? Let's do the same. You'll see that a lot on this channel. I love watching other content creators, and if they have an interesting topic that they're talking about, I might add my 2 cents in it too and let you guys know how I feel on certain things. And I think that's a really cool way for communities to engage with each other, especially if you have a difference of opinion on something. It could be really fun. So without further ado, let's get into the PSP, because this has been one of my favorite handhelds to collect for years. When I first started YouTube back in 2011, the PSP was my main system that I was collecting for. No one else was really doing it. I think Metal Jesus at the time was pretty high on the PSP, but a lot of other people just were not collecting for the PSP around that time. So I said, you know what? All these other people collecting a bunch of Nintendo stuff and everything, I'm going to do something different. Since I love this console, I'm going to go ahead and start collecting a lot for the PSP. So I got a pretty decent PSP collection, and without even knowing it, knocked out a lot of the top 5 games on the system as far as price-wise through the years, very early on. So it's pretty cool to kind of get some of those heavy hitters out the way. But let's talk about it. If you're wanting to get into the PSP, what are the most expensive games? How is the buying, selling, and trading going on for it? What are the systems for it? What are they going for if you want to get into it and you don't even have one? Well, let's start from the top. If you're going to be going for the PSP, for a full North American library, you're looking at over 600 games. It's around 613 officially licensed games for a complete PSP collection. I mean, you have a wide variety of stuff you can get for it. You're seeing a good variety of games down here, but it does have a lot of sports games that are in that complete set. So if you just be aware, if you're going for a full set, you're going to have a lot of sports titles sitting there on your shelf. But other than that, it has a great variety of games. The PSP also has a couple different console variations and model numbers. If you're looking into getting a handheld, you have the Model 1000, 2000, and 3000 series PSPs. You also have the PSP Go. That is a unit for the system, but I'd recommend going with the 1002 or 3000 models. The main difference with those systems being, as the model numbers got higher, the system would kind of get lighter and better screen quality and stuff like that. The first PSP 1000, I think, is the one that kind of felt the best, as far as like it felt weighty and like a nice premium system. The other ones didn't really have that feel, but they're still great little handhelds. But if you're wanting to get a system, these days they are running for about $70 to $90 on price charting, depending on the model number you get. That is the price that they've been holding on price charting for a while now. It's just you could find them cheaper out in the wild. I see them all the time, like dirt cheap on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. So you can find them cheap out there. Now, when it comes to collecting for it, as far as the games, what are the top 5 games that are on the market for this system right now? And when we're doing about the top 5 games, this is something that was actually physically released in a store that you could pick up. Now, all these games are going to be priced over 150 bucks, some close to $200, but other than that, that's about the highest price point you're going to get for stuff like this. And starting things off at the most, one of the most expensive ones that they had on number one on price charting was East, the premium edition of 1 and 2 Chronicles. That is going to be the top tier, and it is just the premium edition set right there. So just game only, game and case only, it's going to be way cheaper. But if you want to get that full-on premium edition, you're looking at 150 plus, close to 200 bucks for it. Next up is a game that I put an asterisk beside, and I'm not going to actually count it because it was the Summon Night 5 Premium Limited Edition, and I do not believe that actually physically released in a store. I think you could only get that online. So for the moment, I will not count that on the list for the top 5, so you guys can let me know if that actually came out to stores or not, but I do not believe it did. But next up, and this was just a gaming case only, was the Legend of Heroes 3 Song of the Ocean. Yes, this incredible series, this long-running Legend of Heroes series, has a ton of entries on the PSP. Unfortunately, some of them did not come out over here in North America, but you can see how the series is doing these days with Trails of Cold Steel. I mean, there's just so much Trails love and Legend of Heroes love going on right now in North America, but the PSP is kind of where this stuff really got its start here in gaining popularity over in North America, and Song of the Ocean is up there in price. Next up is going to be Shin Megami Tensei Persona number 1, and that is, again, they had a premium edition bundle kind of like these. So if you get that soundtrack bundle with this game, that's number 3 on the list as far as the most expensive. And then it comes next up to Legend of Heroes again, Trails in the Sky Premium Edition, coming in at number 4 for the 4th most expensive game. Again, well-beloved series now, comes with a soundtrack, I believe a map and some pins and stuff in there. Really cool little premium edition set. Like I said, I really love those things. Then coming in last, one of the games that I do not have for the top 5, and that is Pro Evolution Soccer 2014. The reason that is so rare, again, because I believe the PSP released, around 2004 or 5? That's when it came out. And this game actually released 10 years later on the system still. I believe it came out in 2013. But it's just one of the last releases to come out for it. Very hard to get and very hard to find, which is why it demands a very high price. Again, I think this one's between that $130 to $160 price range on it, but still really expensive game. So if you're looking at the most expensive ones on the system, there you go. There is some unlicensed stuff like a Hilton cartridge game. I think it's like a UMD type game showing people how to work at the hotel. I'm not sure, but that's not like a licensed game, so you don't have to worry about that. Other than that, there's no super big thing like a Pokemon box or anything that's super expensive on this system. It's kind of nice knowing that the most expensive game on a system is maybe upwards of 200, and you don't even need to get the premium set. If you get the just the game in case only, you're looking at way cheaper. So it's a system that you can collect for a lot cheaper than many of the other systems out there. And again, it just has a great variety of different flavors of games here. I mean, you have your Castlevanias on it. You have Final Fantasy on it. Even all the older ones, they have Final Fantasy 1 and 2 and 4. Just a ton of great games on this system. Action adventure, little cool games like Death Junior. And then you get stuff like Pursuit Force. Just these odd and end games that are just really fun. Patapon got its start here on the PlayStation Portable. And this system is a great racing game system, like for Need for Speed Most Wanted. You got MotorStorm, Arctic Edge sitting here on the end, and a lot more. This system has so much variety for players out there. My favorite games on the system probably being the Phantasy Star portable games. I fell in love with. A lot of people played Phantasy Star back in the day on the Sega Dreamcast. I did not. I started falling in love with Phantasy Star on this system right here with the PSP. These games are incredible. Of course, if you know me, I love my looters, and Phantasy Star Portable are those classic looters, and I just love them. Like class-based MMO style games, I just love that stuff. So those are probably my favorite games on the system. And then again, I just love collecting these premium editions and enjoying those. The JRPGs, if you are a JRPG gamer, you have so many choices on this console. It is just insane how many JRPGs you have out there, whether it's Persona, whether it's the Trails in the Sky series or Lunar. There's just so much out there, even with your tactical strategy RPGs like Jeanne d'Arc, Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions. There is so much on here. Tactics Ogre. These premium editions are actually PAL region premium editions that Aerodynamish sent me back in the day because he knew that I love collecting for the PSP. My favorite one from the PAL region being this third birthday one over here. Just an incredible, and that is still sealed in my collection. Love it. So just again, awesome system. Monster Hunter, if you want to play some classic Monster Hunter to see where it really started taking off and gaining popularity, you got Monster Hunter Freedom 2 and Monster Hunter Unite and everything on here. Just so much. Now the question is, how is the market on a lot of these other games? How's the reselling and everything on? And this is where like I kind of differ in opinion with Y2K Collector. For the future of this system, I do not see it gaining that much popularity. Unfortunately, the big hindrance in it being the controls on it. A lot of us these days are kind of getting used to that second thumbstick, that second joystick when it comes to playing certain games. And when you come here to the PSP and you don't have that control scheme to help you with your camera movement for like first person shooters like a Coded Arms, it can get quite a bit annoying. And the new generation of collectors and gamers growing up these days, I just don't know if they're going to have the patience to want to deal with it while using face buttons to control your camera or R and L to control your camera. I could see them getting pretty annoyed by it. And I just don't think this was, I mean, this system sold over 80 million units. So you'd think it would have a big audience to want to collect for it. But I just don't see that ever happening. It's never been a really popular system as far as collectors, and I believe that is the main reason why, like the control scheme, because a lot of these games are on the cheaper side to kind of get. It's more reasonable prices. There just is no desire for it. And I know people pointed out examples in the comments about, well, the GameCube wasn't looked well upon back in the day, and now it's surging, but Nintendo is like the king. They rule the roost on collecting. It's just people collecting Nintendo stuff more than anything. They demand most of the premium prices over anything. But for a lot of these games right now, they've kept their price or they've gone down in price. Unless it's the certain oddities like the Silent Hill Origins, like your normal things. I didn't mean to say oddities, your normal contenders, your survival horror stuff always goes up. Your RPGs and stuff tend to always go up, like on any system. But stuff like, for example, this ZHP game. This is a game that was 30 to 40 bucks back in like 2012 or 13. When I was really getting into collecting heavy for it, it bumped up during COVID to up near 100 bucks. And then guess what? It's right back down to its price of 30 or 40 bucks. Like it just sits in that price range. Other games like Peace Walker, like stay the same and everything stays steady. Monster Hunter. So unless it's your usual suspects, the prices just aren't going up on these things, which is a good thing. Selfishly, since I love to collect for the system, I don't want to see it gain in popularity that much or get this high demand for it because I want the prices to stay down on it. But I just don't see it happening for this system. I know Y2K thinks it might have a little boom coming here soon. I just don't see it happen because I just don't think it was that popular of a system. And even people these days, when it comes to people's patience, like load times and control schemes, I just don't think they're going to have the patience to want to like really indulge and play the PSP, even though it has a fantastic library full of games and is a system that should be collected for. So for the future of it, I just don't see it being a system that's that much in demand. It's going to be more of a niche system to collect for. Nowhere in the rankings of a GameCube or nothing like that. Even when I think Retro Rick's video painted a picture of it really clearly when you saw his sales for the year last year when he did it. PSP stuff and Vita stuff like that, it's always at the bottom. There just is no demand for it out there on the secondary market. When you're going to shows, there aren't a lot of PSP games at shows. If you're going to yard sales, they're tough to hunt for because there's no PSP stuff at yard sales. Like, people just don't have it to sell. So it can be tricky and tough to even get these games out in the wild, just because it's a system that a lot of people, even though it had so many high sales, it just was not that far in demand. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Maybe I'm wrong, and we'll see. It might take off and have a boom. I just don't see it happening. So what do you guys think about collecting for the PSP? This video went on way longer than I thought it would, but it's a system that I love and one that I love to collect for. So if you're new to it, leave some comments down below if you want any suggestions, or if you're a collector for it myself, shout out some highlights to some people that you think, or where do you think the direction of the system is going to go. So thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you guys in the next one.